%26. On the national report part that the percentage below for 12th grader for the subfraction in math. In America, we had everything as an exceptional country. But the 26% sounds exceptional to you? Raise your hand if you think as a country we need to do way better than that. I'm with you. We all need math. For why are so many kids confused by us? It is because only 26% of people are hardwired from math. Love 70% are not. After working with thousands of kids, I can tell you this is the case at all. Kids don't understand math because we've been teaching it at dehumanized subject. But if we make math human again, it will start make sense again. You're probably wondering, how is math in every human in the first place? So think about it. Math is human language, just like English, Spanish, and Chinese, because it allows people to communicate with each other. Even in ancient time, people need the language of math to conduct trade, to build a monument, and to measure the land for farming. This idea of math, the language, isn't exactly new.
A great philosopher once said, "The laws of nature are written in the language of mathematics." So, you see, even Galileo agreed, isn't it? But somewhere along the line, we are talking the language of math with about the real world around us, and we abstract that beyond this recognition. And that's why kids they get confused. Let me show you what it means. We'll see this third grade California math standard, and people make sense when 8 years old. Understand the fraction 1 over b is the quality format by 1 part when a word is partitioned into b equal part. Understand a fraction a over b as the quality format by a part of size 1 over b. And if you give this description to an 8-year, you probably get reaction like this. To a math expert, this standard makes sense, but a kid, it's an absolute turtle. I tell this example especially because the fractions are the foundational to algebra, trigonometry, and even calculus. So kids don't understand fraction in elementary middle school because it had half road way the ahead term in the high school. But there a way to make subtraction simple and easy for kids to understand. Yes, just remember that math is the language, and us that the fair image.
So it's two apples. Next is 3 pencils plus 3 pencils. You are all know that pencils plus pencils is pencils. So everyone, how many pencils? 5 pencils. 5 pencil is right. And the key is you include the word. I tried to submit with my 5-year-old niece Inman. After she's added pencils and pencils, I asked her what 4 billion plus 1 billion. And my aunt overheard in the distance. She called and said, "Are you crazy? She's been kindergarten." How she's supposed to know 4 billion plus 1 billion? I'm done it. My niece finishes counting, looks up and says, 5 billions? And I say that's right, it is 5 billion. My aunt stood ahead on that, because she didn't expect it from the 5-year. But all you have to do is take a language approach, and math become intuitive. and easy to understand. So even a kindergartner can add subtraction. You'd better believe that every third grader can do it well.
Just for fun, I asked her a high school algebra question. What's 7x squared plus 2x squared? And this little 5-year-old girl correctly answered 9x squared. And she didn't need any exponent rule to figure that out. So when people say that we are either hardwired for math or not, it's not true. Math is a human language, so we all have the ability to understand it. We need to take a language approach to match urgently because too many kids are lost and are anxious about math. And it doesn't have to be that way. I worked with an angry frustrated high school student once who could pass algebra because she only knew 44% of her multiplication facts. I told her, that's like trying to read and only knowing 44% of alphabet. It's holding you back. She couldn't factor or solve equations and she had no confidence in math. As a result, this teenager had no confidence in herself. I told her,
don't realize 7 times 3 can be spelled out as 7 times 3, which just means 3 7 times, just like this. So when kids see it this way, they quickly realize that repeated addition is slow and inconvenient. So they gladly memorize that 3 7 times always gives you 21. So for this teenager who was at risk of dropping out, becoming fluent and confident in multiplication was a game changer because for the first time, she could focus on problem solving instead of counting on her fingers. I knew she had turned the corner when she figured out that a 2-year car lease at $445 a month would cost you $10,680. And she looked at me disapprovingly and said, "Mr. Polysock, that's expensive." At that moment, math was no longer causing problems for her, but she was using math to solve problems as a responsible adult would. As an educator, it's my duty to challenge kids to reach higher. So I leave you with this challenge. Our country is stuck at 26% proficient, and I challenge you to push that number higher. This is important because mathematical thinking not only builds young minds, but our kids need it to imagine and build a future that doesn't yet exist. Meeting this challenge can be as simple as apples plus apples. Insist that we teach math as a human language, and we will get there sooner rather than later. Thank you.